Wow, would you look at that?
I think it's pretty train to see that we've come somewhere special.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
You'll have to forgive my bad jokes. I'm still in training.
Look at this experimental 1950s aero train.
It's not every day you see one of those, friends.
Unless, of course, you work at the National Transportation Museum.
Just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, our last town on old Route 66 in this state.
Dang, how awesome is this place?
Wow, stagecoach,
one-horse open sleigh, bicycles,
even a knife grinder push cart.
Look at this, they even have a miniature train.
But as much as I love miniature trains and push carts,
I've got to admit to you, that's not what I came here for.
I came to find a piece of Route 66 history.
And here it is, the Coral Court Motel.
Or should I say, what's left of the Coral Court?
This old school streamlined motel, which was advertised as ultra modern when it was built in 1941,
was a very famous stop in the St. Louis area on Route 66.
There was a very famous kidnapping and murder, and the kidnapper spent his last night in the Coral Court, and they only ever recovered half the ransom.
For years, people suspected that the other half was somehow hidden in the Coral Court.
But as you can see, the whole thing was dismantled, part of it set up here in this museum.
And I'm pretty sure they never found that money.
The Coral Court was a very popular stay on the old Mother Road until it was bypassed by the interstate. After that, the Coral Court moved to hourly rates and became more famous for its garages. Once your car was parked, there was no way for anyone to tell that you were in there.
It went from motel to no-tell. Shh.
You'll understand when you're older. Supposedly, the museum saved an entire building when the Coral Court was demolished.
So far, they only had the money to set up this one little section for display.
Pretty cool piece of history in here.
Pretty epic, but that's not all they have in this museum.
They got that old bullet-nosed Studebaker, all kinds of buggies and wagons, and check out this old handsome cab.
Doesn't look that handsome to me.
Look at this, just a few years later. Here's one of the early automobiles, an early delivery truck.
You can really see that at first cars were just horse-drawn wagons, but with new engines in them. We went from that to that to that to that so fast.
Crazy how much the technology changed so quickly.
Look at this old steam-powered car.
A Stanley Steamer, just like Stanley from Cars.
He's a good worker, that Stanley Steamer. He gets carpets cleaner.
And an old Peevely Dairy delivery wagon.
Look at this, they were delivering irritated milk. They called it that because if you were lactose intolerant and you drank it, you'd get really irritated.
Fun fact, Peevely Dairy loaned my great-grandfather the money to open his second restaurant.
History.
Look at, there's an old Doris, and here's a couple of Moon automobiles.
Maybe not as well known as Ford and Chevy, but built right here in St. Louis. Just like this traffic truck.
What a name, huh? You'd be sitting in traffic all day if you had that bad boy.
I'd love to get some goggles and a scarf and drive around in one of these all day.
Dude, this place is out of control.
They have tons and tons of trains, literally.
Look at the size of this steam engine.
There's trolleys here, they've got everything.
How cool is that?
Wow. I'd like to take a train trip someday, or at least tour a museum like this with someone who really knew a lot about trains.
There's like a billion of them out here at this museum.
But my favorite so far is this one.
Wow, it's hard to believe that's a train.
It's the 1939 Silver Charger.
But somehow it looks like something from the future still. Now that's good design.
Wow, look at those curves.
That's one sexy train. They even have a whole train station here full of old train artifacts.
And if trains aren't your thing, how about this old C-47?
This is a World War II era transport plane. As a matter of fact, General Dwight David Eisenhower
once said that 3 things won the war: the landing craft, the Jeep, and the C-47.
I kind of think the soldiers had something to do with it too, but I understand what he meant.
Still not your thing? How about this tugboat?
Make sure to come to a complete stop. The HT Pot is here.
The first all-welded, steel-hulled towboat on the rivers, the sign says.
You ever been on a real shrimping boat?
No, but I've been on a real big boat.
Oh, look, it's the front of the boat.
You know what we have to do?
I'm king of the boat!
Sorry. Had to.
Look at this. Some classic car enthusiasts have been driving their old-timey cars in and out of this parking lot all morning. Look at that. Listen to that horn. Wow.
I want to be part of the cool car club. Oh, look what that lady's wearing. She's wearing her little hat and her scarf.
I wasn't too sure about making this stop, but I'm really glad I did now.
Turns out this museum is pretty friggin' epic.
Well, guess it's time to get back on old Route 66. Oh my gosh,
My passenger has no face! We need to get to a hospital! One last thing before we go, though, is this other Peevely dairy cart. They used to have this pulled through the streets of St. Louis by zebras. My great aunt Kate once was telling me about how her dad got the loan from Peevely Dairy, and she goes, you know, the people that used to have the zebras. And I just thought, what? That's weird. Now I know what she was talking about. That is so bizarre. I don't know if I want to drink zebra milk, though. Alright, well, if these guys are done paving the road, I think it's time for us to find old Route 66 again. There's actually about 80 different paths through St. Louis on the old highway because they moved it around so much. Doing my best to stick on the highway through the city, but there's a lot of stuff to see here. Too much to see in St. Louis for any one trip, but of course there's a few things that I really want to lay my eyes on. Alright, we made it to Maplewood, so we're almost to St. Louis proper. Look at this, we've made it to Maplewood, Missouri. Almost to the border of St. Louis proper. I can just see some skyscrapers in the distance. A lot of the 2 S's on the way into town. Suburbs and stoplights. Just to the right of me, past that train, is the Hill, the old Italian neighborhood in town. Some of my family lived there for a little bit, but I'm going the other direction. Welcome to Forest Park. It's known as the heart of St. Louis. It's ginormous. It's been home to the World's Fair, the Olympics. It's got fountains, it's got trees, it's got an art museum. It even has the St. Louis Zoo, and they're all free. But for my purposes today, it's the home of the Missouri History Museum, which right now has a massive free exhibit about Route 66. Look at that old school neon sign right there. That is a good start. Oh, wow. There's old Thomas Jefferson himself welcoming us. Ah, here it is. Main Street through St. Louis. Look at that old sign. Never seen one like that. Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. Wow, so much information on the old Route 66 eateries. They've got car hop uniforms and old signs and old menus. And every so often, these very cleverly disguised listening stations to hear stories from the people who traveled Route 66. Some of these stories are pretty good. But the best part of all, oh, so much neon. Look at that glow. This is my favorite one, La Casa Grande. La Casa Grande Motel. Like a fine hotel. It's not a fine hotel, but it's like one. Ooh, and of course, some more Coral Court stuff. Look at that. There's some of the furniture, some footage of the original buildings. And here's some decoration from outside. The other day I was at Route 66 State Park and they had that old neon sign from the entrance, and look at this. They have this thing from the top of the column. There's pieces of this place everywhere. These exhibits are so impressive. Covers everything. Old cars, old gas stations, old eateries. Even talks about the old school phone booths. Oh, how about this? Another listening station. Ooh. You can listen to people remembering full service stations. It'd be awful nice to pull up to a gas station today and get a full greasing. Oh, I'm sorry, complete greasing. Ooh, an old Airstream trailer. That's pretty cool, I guess, but I did see the oldest Airstream in the world just a few days ago in Texas, so... Oh, who am I kidding? That's still impressive. I want one. Check out all these old motel keys. I've been in, next to, or even slept in some of these. Ooh, I like that. I would love to take one of those old carnival rides and turn it into a go-kart. I guess that doesn't have much to do with Route 66, but it would still be pretty cool. Oh, that's a pretty cool movie theater. Route 66 movie time. I'm learning. That was pretty cool. This exhibit is almost over. It's been here for the past year. Last but not least, they invite you to share your favorite road trip. Mine's right here. Rock and roll. It's pretty weird coming to Route 66 museums now, and instead of seeing a bunch of places I'm going to go, I'm seeing a bunch of places that I've just been. Alright, see, look at this. Here's St. Louis. We're right about there. There's one Route 66. There's another. Trying to figure out how to get out of here. Probably gonna go up this old purple way. But before we do, we should probably head downtown because there is something that I do want to see again. I chose to take the old Shoto Avenue alignment of Route 66 down to downtown, almost to the river now. My family's from St. Louis, and my great-grandfather once owned a little store on Shoto Avenue during Prohibition. My aunt used to tell me this story about how a mafia guy came in there one time to get a little money.
This guy come over and he started arguing with my dad, and they said, "Oh, we hear you're the king of Shoto Avenue," to my father. And my father said, "Oh, are you here to take my kingdom away?"
All the way back out there, which was about 60 miles.
The guy drew a gun. My dad grabbed it from him and hit him on the head with the gun and called the police. And there was some cops that knew my dad, and they didn't. If you just give them a little money, they would keep their mouth shut.
Right.
So he says they thanked him for knocking that guy out. They'd been looking for him.
I love that story. Look at this! There's the Mississippi River! And right up ahead is the Gateway Arch. Oh, heck yeah. How about this, huh? Look out the window. Look at the size of that arch. I am so psyched right now. The Mississippi River. The Big Muddy. It's been a little while since I've touched Old Man River there. Look at that. And on the other side, Illinois, our 8th and final Route 66 state. And wah-wah-wee-wah, would you look at the size of that? That is one gargantuan arch. Dude, look at that thing. 630 feet tall. That's 126 alleys standing on top of each other. Everyone who's never been here from other countries, and even me when I was younger, has this idea that it straddles the Mississippi River. But no, the arch is firmly on dry land. The Mississippi River's over there. Yep, this 630-foot stainless steel arch is firmly on dry land. Look at that. And it's known as the Gateway Arch. It's the gateway to the west. The United States used to end over there across the river, but then Thomas Jefferson made the Louisiana Purchase and opened up all that land that we were just driving through for settlers and explorers. And this Gateway Arch is the symbolic entrance to Western America. This was all under construction last year when I was here too. But unlike last year, it looks like you can still buy tickets to go inside. Well, the good news is that I did buy a ticket to go to the top. The bad news is that I can't even get in line for another hour. And the really bad news is there's something else that I want to see that closes in an hour. So for the second year in a row, I might not make it to the top of the arch. I have been up there before, but you see those people standing there at the bottom? You see how tiny they are and you see how huge that thing is? It's pretty nerve-wracking going up there. So if I don't make it back, I'll be okay, but hopefully I can pull this off. I know what you're thinking. What could be more important than a world-famous Gateway Arch? What could tear you away? And the answer, my friends, is this small headstone. This is the grave of my great-grandfather. Last year when I was in St. Louis, I visited the house that he passed away in and also visited the former site of his restaurant. But this is the first time I've been to St. Louis's Calvary Cemetery, and I gotta tell you, it is enormous. And the first time I've ever been to my great-grandfather's grave. He was buried with my great-grandmother who passed away in 1920. My great-grandfather didn't pass away until the 1960s. He was married 4 times, but he always loved the first one, who died young. And even as he lay dying, my great-aunt told me he was asking for his beautiful Rose. None of us obviously ever knew her. She passed away when my grandfather was only 5 years old, but she was always looked at sort of like a guardian angel for my family. Her picture was always on everybody's wall. As a matter of fact, I still have their wedding picture in my house, which is, it's so strange. My great-grandfather here came to Ellis Island on a ship, old-timey style, from Terracini, Italy. Well, Sicily, when he was just a little kid, and then immediately went to work here in St. Louis at a spaghetti factory. Later, he worked in an old-timey sweatshop at the Hamilton Brown Shoe Company. And these two lovebirds here were neighbors, son and daughter of immigrants living in old-timey Little Italy. And I think when they were married, they were both just teenagers, very, very young, 15, somewhere in that age range. And they had 3 children together before my great-grandmother passed away at a very early age. I don't know that anyone knows what from, but we're talking about an era where they were living in immigrant neighborhoods with no indoor plumbing, that sort of thing, so it really could have been anything. My Grandpa Joe lost his young wife, was remarried again 3 other times, divorced a couple times obviously, had a restaurant, lost it, built another restaurant and built a bar next to it, and then eventually that was purchased by the city and demolished, and he had a nice modest retirement home. And his kids moved to California and had other kids. Some of them had some kids, and I am one of those. I'm actually so happy to be here and so happy to be standing right in front of this headstone. But there's a reason that I'm wearing the sunglasses, and it's not the sun. Feeling a little emotional. I respect everybody's beliefs no matter what they are, and I know that it wouldn't matter to most people to come to a place like this and meet a relative or an ancestor that they never met in real life. But I like to think that it would have mattered to them while they were alive, and I really like to think that it does matter to them now somehow. Believe what you want, I'm just saying. This place is enormous. I'm really surprised and pleased that I even found the grave. Somewhere else in this massive section is his father, Filippo Finazzo. He was a shoemaker from Terracini. Wow, look at these headstones with the old old-timey pictures. There's a Ventimiglia. Oh, I cannot believe it. I found it. There he is. Filippo Finazzo and Marianina Bono. According to my mom's family, I'm related to Sonny Bono on that side. It's okay, on my dad's side, way back, I'm related to Richard Nixon. Look at that. I only have one photocopy of a picture that no one even knows where the original is anymore. Of this man, shoemaker from Terracini, who came over to Ellis Island in 1903 or 1904, just before the World's Fair in St. Louis. Came and worked out here making shoes, saved up enough to bring his family out later, his wife and his 4 sons. These are old school immigrants that couldn't speak any English, but made sure their children only spoke English. My great aunts were little girls when the grandpa passed away, but they remember little grandma. There's only one picture of her that I know of too, and she's kind of half hidden in the doorway of what could basically be called a hovel. Those were the buildings that the city of St. Louis tore down in the 50s because they were just totally derelict and just not fit for human habitation. That's amazing. My great-great-grandfather and my great-great-grandmother. Imagine coming halfway around the world like that by the sweat of your own brow, making a life for yourself, for your kids, watching them make a life for themselves. That is so... I'm sort of at a loss for words, actually. I didn't really honestly expect to be so emotional. I gotta be honest with you. It's punching me right in the gut, you know? The kind of conditions these people came to this country in, the kind of conditions that they lived in, and the kind of conditions they worked in. The only picture, actually, of my great-great-grandfather, Filippo Finazzo, is a picture of him in the Hamilton Brown shoe factory in St. Louis that's gone now. But you see that workshop in there, and that's like the old-timey sweatshop from like union posters. Like, that's back in the old piecework days too, where if you worked slowly, you got paid less. If you worked fast, you got paid more. It's a beautiful story, honestly, and it's not, I don't feel like it's just my story or even my family's story. It's really an American story, isn't it? These were very devout Catholic folks. I know that little grandma here used to do all the stitching for the cloths that go under the chalice and stuff like that in church. Vestments and all sorts of other things for the priest, you know, that kind of thing. It's a surreal thing to be standing in this graveyard, you know. I heard about these people for a giant chunk of my life. I feel really grateful to be able to come and pay my respects. So that's why I don't think we're gonna make it up into the arch today, but there's always the way back. I'm really happy that I found those graves. This is just one small section of a massive cemetery. I wasn't crying. My eyes were just sweaty with respect, that's all. I know this was a little bit of a detour, but thanks for taking it with me, guys. I missed my appointment with the arch. That's okay. After all, it is the symbolic gateway to the west, and I'm not heading west yet, so I'll be back in a few days, hopefully. St. Louis's Calvary Cemetery. You guys should come out here if you ever get a chance. It's actually very beautiful. This is one of the less dense sections of it. I guess the immigrants here got the back of the cemetery. Towards the front are these way elaborate monuments. It's a beautiful place. I would highly recommend it. And now, having said that, it is time for us to depart the world of the departed and depart the state of Missouri. It's time for us to cross over. Goodbye, St. Louis. Look out there. You can see the old abandoned Chain of Rocks Bridge. That's old Route 66. Goodbye, Missouri. Hello, Illinois. We did it. State number 8. That's something you can't hate. Isn't it great? Oh, too bad we were late for the arch. Woo! Illinois, land of Lincoln. Okay, now we're backtracking just a little bit to see if we can get a look at the old famous Chain of Rocks Bridge. Oh, how fun. First we have to cross this other incredibly scary bridge just to get to there. Oh my gosh. Have I ever mentioned my fear of bridges? Yeah, not a fan. Check it out. This is old Route 66 right here. It's all abandoned now. The only people that use this road are people like you and me who are coming to check out the old bridge. But at one time, these would have been the first Route 66 miles in Illinois. Or the last, depending on which way you were going. Oh yeah, check this out. The old Chain of Rocks Bridge. It's our first Route 66 stop in Illinois. Look it, we're way down there. We still have all of this to go. You can't drive across the bridge anymore, but you can walk across. Not that I'm particularly fond of this idea. It feels a little bit like I'm walking into Jurassic Park. Wow, look at that down there. That's the edge of the Mississippi River. Obviously the river's a little high right now with all the flooding they've had recently because it's way back up here in the trees.
Man, it's hard to imagine two-way traffic going down this bridge. It's not very wide. I would not want to pass a truck on this bad boy.
Dang, this is why I should have brought a bicycle with me. Or a skateboard or something. Besides just being the old Route 66 path across the river, this bridge was famous for taking a crazy left turn in the middle. It's called Chain of Rocks Bridge because apparently in the old days when the river was lower, there used to be this crazy chain of rocks kind of going across that were a real problem for the old riverboats. Oh wow, we came a long way, but what a view. Would you look at that? The mighty Mississippi River. Wow. Way over there, I can see the arch, city of St. Louis. That's Missouri over there, and then on this side over here, Illinois. Wow, can you see the turn in the bridge up ahead, how it comes out this way? Well, I guess going from this side, it's a crazy right turn. See it up there? They didn't own the land on both sides to make it a straight line, so they just turned the bridge. Let me see here. Oh, heck no. All of a sudden, I am very aware of the fact that I'm on an old, rusty, abandoned bridge. Very high above the Mississippi River. Wow, how about that? Look at this. This is the state line. Made it all the way back to Missouri already. Missouri, Illinois, Missouri, Illinois. Ooh, okay. I'll stop. I could do that all day, but I know it'd be too Illinoising. And now for the walk back. What a fun one. Oh, I love walking. It's so much farther than I was expecting it to be. Whew. Goodness gracious, it's hot out here. Well, we finally made it down all of Route 66 in Missouri. And we've come to our 8th and final state, Illinois. How about that? Oh, it feels nice to be in the air conditioning again. And it feels nice to be back on old-timey Route 66 in Illinois. Cities are great, and I love St. Louis. Can't wait to come back, actually. But I feel like Route 66 is really more about small towns and the open road. And I'm looking forward to see a little more of each before we reach Chicago. Of course, then we have to turn around and kind of do it all over again at a much faster pace. But for now, I think it's safe to say we've done our duty. Now we can motel and sleep well. Goodbye, everybody. Missouri, Illinois, Missouri, Illinois. I'm in Illinois. No, I'm not. I'm in Missouri. I am in Illinois. No, I'm not. I'm in Missouri. No, I'm not. I'm in Illinois. Now I'm back in Missouri. Now I'm back in Illinois. Woo!